Hello everybody, welcome to F1 Grandstand. I'm Tony Craig, and if you are an F1 fan, you are in the right place. Join the community, get involved. Top story, Horner back in F1 as a team owner in 2026. Well, it's not only possible, it's actually looking likely. But where did this story come from? How did it start? Well, you know this guy, Bernie Ecclestone, he's not backwards in coming forwards about his opinions, is he? Outspoken, tends to tell the truth actually. Well, a couple of days ago, Ecclestone, he went on record saying he believes Horner will be back in F1 very soon, but not just as a team principal, but as an owner. And he even dropped the bombshell, he dropped the name, most likely with Alpine. Now the thing is, Ecclestone and Horner are actually really good friends. But why did he say Alpine? Well, Alpine are in trouble financially. I don't know if you knew this, but Renault, their shares are down 20%. Yeah, that's a lot. Their engine program has been shut down, and they have been touting around trying to sell a 20% stake for about £300 million. But that means they're valuing Alpine at 1.5 billion for a team who's at the back of the grid, dead last, bottom. So that's what they think. They think their team's worth 1.5 billion. Now, the reason why they're saying that is because, well, Formula One, believe it or not, is on the rise. Like with the American interest and the races that are going on there, and also with the F1 movie, it's looking like a boom time to be in the F1 business. So they are open to selling, not the whole team, I don't think, although they did, a rumour is that they did have an offer for about 1.2 billion for the whole team, which they turned down. What they want to do is sell a 20% stake for around 300 million. Now, who's over at Alpine right now? Now, you might know this guy. This guy is Flavio Briatore. Now, this guy is one of the biggest characters the Formula One community has ever seen. If you don't know who he is, and you only know him from, you know, hovering around the Alpine garage, let me tell you about Flavio Briatore. So in 1988 to 1997, he was the Benetton team commercial director, managing director, and then he was a team principal from 1990 to 1997. Now, you may know some of the drivers he had driving for him. He had Michael Schumacher, he had Nelson Piquet Jr., British guy Johnny Herbert. But you know what? He won 2 drivers' championships in 1994 and 1995 with Michael Schumacher, and he won 1 constructors' championship in 1995. Now, this is a time when you've got to think about that grid. Not only do you have all the big names, you had Ferrari, you had Williams, McLaren, but the drivers that Schumacher was driving against, you had Prost, you had Senna, you had Mansell. You know, the grid was ridiculously competitive, and to win it as a constructor with Benetton, that's one hell of an achievement. But it gets better. So in 1998 to 2000, he was still a team principal, but part-time. He had, you know, some great drivers. He had like Fisichella was driving for him back then. And then Renault took over Benetton in 2002, and they had that team from 2002 to 2009, and he was the managing director of the Renault F1 team and the team principal, and he still brought them success. He had drivers, he had Fernando Alonso, Jarno Trulli, Fisichella, and he won 2 drivers' championships in 2005 and 2006 with Fernando Alonso. He won 2 constructors' championships in 2005 and 2006. He basically rebuilt Renault into a championship-winning team. So what happened to him? Okay, so he got a lifetime ban from Formula One, because he had Nelson Piquet Jr., who was driving for Renault. He deliberately crashed on lap 14 after being instructed by a senior team member of the management team. Okay, now the crash triggered a safety car which allowed his teammate, Fernando Alonso, who had just pitted early, to move into a race-winning position. And Alonso won that race, and it was their first race win of the season. So there was some skullduggery. The FIA banned him for life in 2009, but then in January 2010, a French court overturned Briatore's lifetime ban, and it was because they overturned it because there was a lack of due process by the FIA. But because of the damage to his reputation within Formula One, he stayed out of team management until 2024, where he returned to Alpine as, well, they're calling him a special advisor. So why is he relevant? He's really good friends with Christian Horner. So if Horner is planning a purchase of that 20% stake, he has got an ally already in that senior management team over at Alpine. And the thing about Horner is he's due a pretty big payout from Red Bull, right? They reckon it's going to be, they're negotiating, he's on gardening leave right now. They reckon it's going to be around 60 million. But we know that Alpine want about 300 million for a 20% stake. So where's he going to get the money? I'm coming to that. But first of all, let's just remind ourselves Christian Horner's achievement. So he joined Red Bull in 2005 as the youngest ever F1 team principal at the age of 31. Now, how did he get that job? It brings us full circle back to Bernie Ecclestone, who championed him back then. They have been friends since 2005. Now, Horner guided Red Bull to 6 constructors titles, 8 drivers titles, and 124 Grand Prix wins. So what have we got in this package? We've got Ecclestone, who basically owned Formula One. Very still powerful guy. More money than God, by the way. You got Horner, proven winner. And then you've got this wild man, Flavio Briatore, who has also beat all of the odds. He's won Constructors' Championships with teams that really shouldn't be winning Constructors' Championships like Benetton. He also thinks he discovered Michael Schumacher. He didn't actually. He actually robbed Michael Schumacher from Eddie Jordan, if you listen to Eddie, the late Eddie Jordan, when he was telling the story. Yeah, he actually jumped in and robbed Michael. It was Eddie Jordan that actually, I would say, discovered Michael Schumacher. However, he did win him. Sorry, he did help Schumacher win 2 world championships. So you've got Flavio Briatore, a winner, ruthless. You've got Christian Horner, a winner, whatever you might think of him. And then you've got Ecclestone, who's the cash. So bring all that together. Horner's paltry 60 million he might get from Red Bull. Put that towards maybe some backing from Ecclestone or some of that good old Spice Girls money from Jerry Halliwell. Who knows? Maybe she's got a couple of $100 million stashed away from her earnings. But you can see now how possible it is. And that is the team that is ripe for Horner to take some equity and ownership and control over. Because if you're languishing bottom of the championship, you're going to need somebody to come in and shake that up. Horner is probably the right guy. The one thing I do know about Christian Horner, and obviously I want to hear what your opinions are. I want you to have your say in the comments, and I promise I will respond to you. But whatever you might think of Horner, he's probably the right type of personality to grab that team by the balls and turn them into winners. You know, you got to think, well, when he went to Red Bull, they were literally starting from scratch. And their rise to the top was, well, it was meteoric, really, wasn't it? So he could be the right guy to do it. And if he can get the money from Ecclestone, and he can have the backing from Flavio, who's already there, who also knows how to win, and I think those two have got the similar type of personality where they win at all cost. And I'm not saying they break the rules, but they're the type of people which will bend them, interpret them like you should. I mean, you've got to remember, this is a competitive sport. Like, winning is the goal. And doing it within the realms of what is considered fair, and you have to interpret the rules to your advantage. These guys are the masters at it. So it's looking more and more likely. Now, my old mate, Tubby George, who's the man on the ground, he's given me the nod. He said these talks are actually moving forward. It's not just rumours, there are actual plans afoot for this to happen. But what do you think? Would you like to see Horner back on the grid, running Alpine? Would you like to see that? I actually would. I miss him from the grid. I don't particularly like him as a person, but would I like to see him on the grid? Yeah, I would. Would I like to see more of Flavio Briatore? Yeah, I would. He is one hell of a character. So yeah, for me personally, I understand why Horner would only come back with an equity stake. Because when you look at people like Toto Wolff, like he managed to do an incredible bit of business with Mercedes Racing. He's a 30% owner in that team. And if Alpine is worth 1.5 billion, Mercedes Racing's got to be worth at least 3 billion. That makes Toto Wolff a billionaire. So when you start seeing these payouts for Christian Horner of like 60 million, well, you realise, even though it's a lot of money to you and me, in terms of Formula One, it's lunch. So yeah, that's the way it's going to go. Mark my words. And I did say this, by the way, when I did my show when Horner got sacked. What did I tell you? I told you the only way he's coming back is as a team boss and owner. And now it's looking like he's going to get a team with a great infrastructure. I don't know what they'll do about a power plant, but he has got all the right contacts to bring all of these puzzle pieces together and turn Alpine around. And the drivers, their current driver, I like Pierre Gasly. I think he's a good driver. What do you think? Who would you like to see in the Alpine seat? I know Colapinto's probably got to go. He's not really cut it. I would like to see Bottas back. Bottas on his mullet, making a comeback, maybe in an Alpine seat. I know he's rumoured to be, well, he is talking to Cadillac right now for a seat there, but I would like to see him in an Alpine. So who would you like to see in an Alpine seat next year? And would you like to see Christian Horner as that team boss? Let me know in the comments below. I'm dying to find out. Okay. That's it from me. Thanks for watching F1 Grandstand. Please like, comment, join the community, subscribe, and hit the bell so you can keep up to date. I'll be back tomorrow with some more news. And remember, if you can't be good, be lucky.